the SLLA 6990 and the Praxis 5412. So these are both leadership exams, and we're going to be talking about them today live. I'm really happy to be here with you. It is Saturday. Let me go live on Facebook. It is Saturday, October 18th, 2025. So if you are with me live right now, webinar, then you know that you've got a free study guide because you signed up, and you can see me and chat with me inside the webinar. So if you can hear me, let me know if you are inside the webinar. If you are on social media right now or you're watching this in the future, there are links in the description to get into the free webinar and get those resources. Let me just check and see. It doesn't sound, unmute broadcast. There are links. Okay. I am live. Wanted to make sure that my broadcast was broadcasting. So let me know in the description or in your chat who you are, if this is your first webinar with me, if you've been here before, if you are currently studying for this exam or an exam like it. If you're not taking this exam specifically, but you're taking a leadership exam, you're in the right place. It's all the same stuff. It's just in a different order. So the only difference between the two today that I'm going to talk about is the 5412 does not have a writing portion, a constructed response. The SLLA 6990 does. Otherwise, these are exactly the same exams. I'm going to spend a lot of time on the constructed response today because it's going to help me communicate to you in context what you're required to do with this exam. All right, people are starting to come in. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I have watched your videos, but first webinar studying for SLLA. Awesome. It's your first webinar. Good job. Currently studying for a leadership exam. Perfect. You guys are in the right place. And listen, if you're a teacher and you are curious about leadership and you're here, this is the right place for you too. Everybody is welcome. So some of you are taking the 5412. Remember, that's exactly the same as the SLLA 6990, except yours does not have a writing. You are straight multiple choice, and the 6990 does have a constructed response. But I highly recommend, if you're taking the 5412, that you stay through this webinar, through the constructed response, because it's going to help you on your multiple choice. The constructed response is the application of all the things that we learned in the study guide and hopefully in our leadership certification courses, in our master's level courses, and our doctoral courses. It's kind of the combination of all of that, and you apply that. When you're trying to become a school leader, you do a lot of writing. You write for the leadership exam. You write for your graduate degree, right? Whether it's a master's, a specialist, or a doctorate. And then a lot of times you have to write for the actual position. Like when I got my leadership position, I had to write. I had to go down to the district. I had to interview with lots and lots of leaders. It was very intense. And then there's a writing component. So it is a very competitive thing that you're doing. And it's really, really great. And it's difficult. And you're in the right place. I'm here for you. I've been through it myself. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to look over into the chat again. People are here for the SLLA 6990. Everybody's talking to one another. Awesome. Remember, you guys can help each other in the chat. Now, I am talking to the people in the live webinar today, October 18th, 2025 at 10 a.m. Eastern. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook or anywhere else, there's a link in the description to get into this webinar, get the resources, and be part of the book giveaway. I'm going to be giving away an SLLA book and 2 5412 books. I have these left over in my house. I'm trying to get rid of all these books because we're getting with a new publisher to sort of get our books out further out into the world. And I had to buy them all and review them all. Like I had 40 books in here. So I'm trying to get rid of them, but this is one way to do it, with a book giveaway. So I will be doing that today. All right, so let's talk about the SLLA 6990 and other leadership exams. The first thing I want you to do is close your eyes and transport yourself to a magical land where education is funded, where people care about education, where legislators pass laws based on data, and educational experience. Okay. That is the mindset I want you to answer these questions. This exam does not test you on the realities of your day-to-day life as an assistant principal or a principal. So I just want to make that clear. A lot of people see my videos. They're like, oh my gosh, this is not the way it is. I know. I was an assistant principal for a few years. I worked downtown at the district office. I've had a lot of jobs in education. And I know that many of the questions that are asked on this exam do not mirror the day-to-day. However, it is the goal for educational researchers, educational practitioners, teachers, leaders, stakeholders, that we get to that place in education. It's just that nobody wants to fund it or give us the time to do it. So we're going to pretend we're in a land where all of that is not an issue. We have the funding. We have the proper amount of teachers. We have time to go out into the community and engage our stakeholders. Now, a lot of leaders do this really, really well, and some districts are better to their schools than others. Some states are better to their schools than others, but everyone right now feels the crunch of the lack of funding, the lack of priority, and we can go on and on with that. And I have lots of axe to grind for that. But for this test, we are thinking like, we have everything we need to inspire teachers, to close the achievement gap, to help our most vulnerable students achieve. We see diversity as an asset, and this is true. You know, this is not in the magical land. You should be doing this. Diversity is an asset. Different families, different students bring something important to the table. We are using data constantly to make data-driven decisions school-wide, okay? Because what I find that a lot of people do on this exam and in the interview, pay attention about this with the interview, is you think like a teacher, because many of you are just now leaving the classroom or you're about to leave the classroom, so you still have your teacher brain on. So you're thinking in the classroom, I need you to zoom out and think school-wide, building-wide, okay? Now, if you're here for the 6991, which is the superintendent test, I do want to build a program for that. You zoom out even bigger, right? You're at the district level. But here, I want you to put your leadership hat on, okay? And especially for the interview, I made the mistake when I was going through my interview. I used a lot of teacher examples because it was just my go-to, even though I had just done an internship, even though the principal had me like shadow him for like 6 months. I lost all of it because I was nervous, and I went straight to what I was used to, which was the teaching part, right? You've got to think building wide. Decisions you are making are for the good of the entire school, all right? And that is the reality, whether you're on the magical land that I talked about earlier or in the real world that you probably just left yesterday. So think like that when you are answering these questions. If it's too good to be true and impossible to do, it's probably the correct answer, okay? All right. Nikki Hamilton Moore, with the upcoming election in my state, education is a heavy subject, especially for special education students. Yes, I've been getting a lot of comments, just a side note, and then we're going to get into it, but this is important for my leaders here. I did a video on MTSS and it just resurfaced again. And I basically was just going over what MTSS is, multi-tiered systems of supports. I know many of you know that, but if you're watching this and you're not aware of what the acronym means, it's multi-tiered system of supports. It's an interventions model that we use to intervene before we designate students to special education. And as leaders, and you will see this on the exam, we don't want to designate students in special education. So we use these intervention methods to kind of avoid over-representation of students in special education. The students who need it. Those who don't need interventions, right? I was just explaining the ins and outs of it, but I got a lot of comments from teachers that are saying like, we have to give up our planning in order to do MTSS, like as a set time of the day, even though MTSS should be embedded in the instruction, right? And leadership is making, according to the comments, and I'm not there, so I don't know what exactly is happening, but according to several comments in different states, teachers are having to use their planning to implement MTSS because special education is being cut. I mean, it's all being gutted. It's being gutted here. It's being gutted everywhere. So now teachers who aren't necessarily trained in MTSS now have to give up their planning, and the special education teachers whom we would collaborate with, the special education coordinators, the higher level position in special education within the school, the coordinator, or at the district level, they're being cut. So it's just like they're having to give up their planning and all of that. That is the opposite of what we're supposed to be doing in education. On this exam, and I know I'm here to prep you for the exam, but I'm also here to sort of prep you for life as an AP and as a principal. We should be delegating resources effectively in order for teachers to do their job the best they can. It's our job to sort of say, here's a stipend. If you want to give up your planning, here's some extra money. Or we need to cut back on something. If we want to make MTSS a priority, I need to pull back on something else. And unfortunately, it's really hard to do that with fewer people in these positions and fewer dollars. And every year it gets fewer and fewer. Eli's asking, where is special education being cut? Well, I can tell you that in my state, they are going to lower property taxes, which is great. Great. Lower taxes is great, but that's where we get the bulk of our educational funding. So education is going to take a hit with some of the cuts. So hopefully we can get some people in there that can reallocate those funds to where they need to go. But losing planning time, I mean, teachers need planning. And this test talks about that collaboration. Teachers need time to collaborate and not just mandated PLC time where you're like whipping them and making them, do these mandated things. And I know that I'm in an office right now without any children or teachers or anything. And I'm telling you these pie in the sky ideas, but that really is, in all of our research and my experience, the most effective way to engage teachers, students, and to lead a building of stakeholders in this, on this journey of education. So yeah, it's being cut. It's going to continue to get cut. It's cut. It doesn't matter what political party really is in office. I mean, we're seeing a lot of cuts now, but education is like number 10 on the list. I mean, watch a debate, watch even a local debate, education, unless it's a school board debate, education isn't up at the top. It's typically economic issues, and a lot of people don't understand that education is an economic issue, but I digress. But that is one thing that to bring it back to the exam, on this exam, we're not making teachers use their planning to do MTSS. We're actually giving them more time. And again, it's not very realistic in the current climate, and it hasn't been realistic for many years, but that is how I want you to think about this exam, okay? We are on an island where we have all the funding, all the time, and all the creativity and autonomy, because a lot of it is about trying things, taking risks, being resilient. Those are words you're going to see on this exam and in the test specifications that we're supposed to do, right? And we're also supposed to encourage teachers to take risks and to be innovative. And it's very difficult in the current climate. Now, some of us are lucky enough to work with educators who do that. Some districts have an amazing way of doing that. There are different states, districts, everyone is different, but it's hard to do right now with limited funds. But you can still do your very, very best and make it happen. All right, so let's talk a little bit. I have been steeped into this test for the last month and a half. I am revamping some of the resources. They're not ready yet. However, this book has a ton of 5-star reviews. Many people, 90%, we have 90-ish% pass rate, a little bit above that, for people who use our program. This is very much aligned to the exam. The exam has not changed. The leadership standards have not changed. I am working on some enhancements and some revamps. Stay tuned for that. But if you're taking the test in the next few weeks, I highly recommend getting this book or my online course as soon as possible. But if you can wait till like Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever, I'm working on a new book here. So it's October 18th, 2025, probably in the next couple of weeks. I tried to do it before this webinar, but I just couldn't. I wanted to make it really, really good. So it took me a little bit longer. But this book is awesome. It is broken up by the test specification. So let's talk about the content categories of this exam. We have 6 multiple choice content categories for the 6990. All right. And then the 7th content category is the constructed response. Now, the constructed response is worth 25% of the overall test. So you can't just study for the multiple choice and hope for the best on the writing. The writing is 25% of the exam. It is the biggest part of the exam. Now, I'm going to show you how to do it. It's going to be very easy once you understand how to start with the task and really hone in on what you know, especially what you've studied in the book. All right. So let's talk about it. And this goes for the 5412 as well. Same content categories. All right. Now, every testing company has to publish what we call a test specification. And I have been steeped in these documents my whole career. All right. Now, most people don't look them up. I highly recommend you do. All you have to do is Google SLLA 6990 Study Companion or Praxis 5412 Study Companion, because that's the ETS. If you're taking a different leadership exam, just Google the name of your leadership exam and the term blueprint and test specification. The blueprint are the main categories on the exam, and the test specifications are those skills and what I call the good words and phrases and the correct answer choices, especially for an exam like this one that is all about scenario-based questions where you're given a scenario and you have to answer it the most effective way. All right. You're going to see that in just a second. All right. So inside the test specifications, and it's their proprietary material. I'm not going to broadcast it here. Go to their website. You will find it. You'll see a pie chart with all the content categories. And then under that, you have to scroll down. You'll see all of the skills. All right. Now, content category 1 is strategic leadership. And let me go ahead and share my screen because I have this sort of written out for you guys on my screen. Okay. So what we have here, we have strategic leadership is the first content category. This is all about mission or vision, mission, and goals. Okay. And it's very, very important that we keep and let me just move this over here just slightly. Okay. I'm looking at myself on my phone, making sure this all looks good. Okay. Strategic leadership is all about vision, mission, and goals. And it is about using data to make strategic decisions. If you're a strategic leader, what are you doing? You're looking at data, both qualitative and quantitative. Okay. You're looking at surveys, qualitative. You're doing observations and walkthroughs, qualitative. You're talking to students, qualitative. You're getting out into the community and you're talking to parents and business leaders, okay? Qualitative. Everything's data, right? And you're collecting that. And then you're looking at your state assessment scores in reading and math. You're looking at subgroup data, who is achieving and who is not. You're looking at all of this and you're making strategic decisions. So every decision you make is grounded in data. So if you can come to the test and the job with that in mind, you're going to do a lot better. Let me just move this down slightly. Okay. Strategic leadership is about being collaborative. You want to come from the collaborative mindset, and you want to make sure that you are providing space for teacher representatives to come to the table and make decisions with you. It's a shared, and I'm going to just put this up here. It's shared leadership, shared goals. You see those words, shared goals, common goals, strategic, data-driven decision-making. Those are going to be the correct answers, okay? Because that's what strategic leaders do. Now, instructional leadership is the largest part of the multiple choice section of the exam. Why? Well, because it's our job as instructional leaders in the building to help teachers push students towards their highest potential. And this is all about closing the achievement gap, closing the equity gaps, closing all gaps. Okay. And what does it mean to close gaps? Well, I'm going to draw something. I'm going to make a chart here. Okay. And it's going to be a bar graph, and let's just say here, and we've got one here. All right. And let's just say these are different subgroups for different things, right? Let's say this is overall students, the whole population, and maybe this is some subgroup. Now, remember, students are more than subgroups. They are people. They have unique needs. I talk about this a lot. As leaders, we do look at a lot of data. We disaggregate the data. We categorize the data, and then therefore we categorize people, right? And sometimes even in my own videos, I hear myself talking about subgroups because I'm trying to get an idea across or an information across. Sometimes it can come off as insensitive, right? So if we're talking about students with special needs, or if we're talking about students who are experiencing poverty, when we're in the data and we're sort of crunching numbers, we can sometimes flippantly talk about these students, but subgroups are unique people, right? Students with unique needs. What we want to do is, so let's say that these students are experiencing poverty. So we're going to go low SES, low socioeconomic status. That's what that stands for, okay? And often students who are experiencing poverty, who are designated low SES, do have a harder time achieving. That does not mean every single kid who is experiencing poverty is not achieving. I've had many students as a teacher who kids had a rough time and they were scoring the highest on my exams. We're talking about a subgroup in total. And you can see the big gap here. Let's just say this is let's make them big numbers, 78%. Most people are not at 78 proficiency unless you're at a school that's got a lot of, high achievers there. Usually it's about 52, 53%, but let's just say it's 78%. And let's say this group here is achieving at 52%. Let's say this is proficiency, reading proficiency, okay? So the entire school is at a 78%. When we disaggregate down and we break it down by subgroup, we're at 52%. You see this gap here? We want to close that gap. We want to bring up this 52% and get that closer to that 78%, right? But do we want this 78% to stay there? No, we want to keep moving that up, right? We want this to get to 80 and 90, but we want to keep moving this up too, so that as we're moving up, we're closing that achievement gap. Now, I'm doing this as a digital representation. It's much harder to do than I am showing you here on my little terrible graph, right? But that is the idea. And when we talk about instructional leadership, that is the ultimate goal of instructional leaders, is to close the gap while pushing our students who are proficient or even highly proficient even further up. And every bit of the graph is going up and we're closing that achievement gap. We also want to close equity gaps. And we know that there's a difference between fairness and equity. Equity is ensuring that everybody has the resources they need to work towards the standard. We keep the standard high. We don't lower the standard ever. Be on the lookout for that. Bad words. If it says lower the standard, make it easier, train teachers to make it easier. No. Keep the standard high. But we as leaders are allocating resources, training our teachers, having building-wide initiatives that close that achievement gap. Again, we have all these other jobs we're doing throughout the day, but this is the most important job. This is why we're here. This is why teachers are here, to have students achieve. Right? Now, there's a lot that goes into that, but that's just the overall structure of that content category. Then climate and cultural leadership also up there. Notice that content category 1, 2, and 3 are all the biggest parts of the exam. We got 20 questions for strategic, 27 for instructional leadership, and 22 for climate and cultural leadership. Now, this is all about building a climate in your school collaboratively with teachers and staff and stakeholders so that people's voices are heard, people feel safe, people are learning to the best of their ability. We are offering adult learning, bringing in the community. There's a lot of overlap with strategic leadership, climate and cultural leadership, and community engagement leadership. You're going to hear some repetition. You're going to see some repetition. We're always engaging the community, and our community is our students, our teachers, our parents, our custodians, our first responders who are often at our school, right? It's a whole community of people where we have common goals, shared goals. We're working towards their shared goals, and people feel safe enough to be themselves, to see themselves in education. Another big part of climate and cultural leadership is actively seeking out diverse teaching staff, because many of us have a student population that is very diverse. So we want to really engage our community and find teachers and teacher leaders and administrators who are diverse, because that is an asset and that's a big part of cultural leadership, and fostering a really healthy culture inside the school. Okay. I know we got a lot going on. It's hard to do this, but this is really the job of the leader. Now, some schools have a really close shared vision and mission. They got t-shirts, they got it on the walls, they got it everywhere. Other people, maybe they just do more community outreach, stuff like that. But that's all part of this climate and cultural leadership. Another thing with these two, instructional leadership and climate and cultural leadership, we want to talk about job embedded professional development, right? Professional development that teachers feel that they can use immediately in their classroom, that makes them better at their practice, that gives them autonomy, that helps them be even better, that they like, that they want to learn. That's a big part of instructional leadership and climate and cultural. Ethical leadership is all about protecting student rights, teacher rights, keeping students safe, documentation of all things. We are, and if you're talking to me in the chat right now, I can't see it. I'm going to be back there in just a second. But ethical leadership is all about, making sure that we are holding teachers accountable, following protocols, following the law, allowing students to exercise their rights. You might have some questions about, students wanting to protest, understanding the laws that govern education and student rights, a lot about FERPA, Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, and all the other Supreme Court decisions. I have a whole section of this in the book, but really we want to be making sure we're conducting investigations. We are engaging in due process. And you say, oh, of course I'd engage in due process. Well, when you're busy and you hear a kid was cheating on an exam, sometimes you just go and pull the kid out and say, hey, what's going on? I heard you were cheating on an exam, because you're walking the halls and the kid and he's been in your office 100 times. And you're like, I'm going to go talk to him. Well, you really should be doing a proper investigation first. That's due process, saying, hey, Ms. So-and-so said you were cheating. Were you cheating? That's accusing the kid before, you have done an investigation. That student needs to have a chance to tell his side of the story or her side of the story. So do we do that? Sure. When I was an AP, if I heard a kid was acting up and it was one of mine, I'd go in there and say, come with me, let's take a walk and talk to them. Of course, real life. But in the legal world, we want to make sure that we are conducting due process. We're not just suspending students. Another part of this is your special education students. We have to make sure that their breaking the rules is not a manifestation of their exceptionality or their disability, meaning you can't just throw kids out of school when they have IEPs for behavior IEPs. We have to make sure we're working with the special education teachers, working with the IEP teams, and making sure that we are making ethical decisions when it comes to our students. All right. And there's a whole thing on that. Organizational leadership. This is about the building. This is really important. I learned so much from my principal, who was a building guy. He was an instructional leader too. And he always surprised me with I always thought he was just a building guy. And he was a social studies teacher, and he was older and he just was old fashioned, and he was so good at logistics in the building. I learned so much from him about construction, new construction on the building, and everything from bathrooms, how to put, make sure school bathrooms are designed properly. I mean, just really, really cool. But you got to have that plus the instructional leadership. And he did too. He had great instructional leadership skills. But organizational leadership here is the building's clean, safe, and working, right? We're allocating budgets. That was another thing my principal was good at. He could take the budget and know exactly where he was going to allocate the resources, right? We're talking about FTE, full-time equivalent, all of those things. Where are they going? Who are you hiring? How much money are you giving the science team? How much money are you giving the English department? Are we redoing technology? Are we using Title II funding for professional development? You have to know these types of questions. And the main thing about this is really allocating resources based on teacher need and student need. It's all about closing the achievement gap. So whatever we're doing, we're pushing towards student achievement, and organizational leadership about that. It's also about safety. It's also about protocols. fire drills, making sure we're working with the first responders, the police, firefighters, things like that, to have really good, solid plans for safety. So it encompasses a lot. It is only 16 questions on the exam, but again, there's a lot of overlap here as well. And we're doing this in tandem. We're not doing this alone. We're never doing this alone. We are doing this with our team. We're doing it with teachers. We're doing it with community members. Again, always engaging the community, which brings us to the sixth content category. And again, you're going to see a lot of overlap between this and like strategic leadership and ethical leadership. We want to make sure we're getting out into the community. I have a friend in where I live who does a great job of this. She's always posting online. Oh, I met with this business person. She's getting pictures with them. They're wearing the school t-shirt. They sponsor events, stuff like that. That's a big part of it. Also, going to your local, whatever the local town hall is, and speaking with community, speaking with parents, speaking with people who are part of the school community, right? And I know, when do you have time to do that? You have to be down at the district on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You have to be here. You have to be there. But remember, we are on a magical land where we have time, where we can get in our cars and we can drive to the local, whatever it is in our community, and be known and say, hey, I'm from this school. How are you feeling about the school? What can I do for you? How can I engage you? Right. And again, that's best case scenario. That's what we want to be doing. Right. And then we are going to take all of this information and we're going to apply it to 4 questions on the constructed response. Now, I want you to understand the structure of the constructed response, because I feel like a lot of people go into things blindly and it hurts you. Okay. So I'm going to get rid of this and I'm going to talk to you about where these 4 constructed response questions come from. For sure, you are going to get a constructed response from strategic leadership and instructional leadership. 100%. You will get at least one. Okay, so there are 4. So let's say you got 1 from strategic leadership and 1 from instructional leadership. Now, you could also do another one from instructional leadership and another one from strategic leadership. That happens. Or you could get 2 for instructional leadership, 1 for climate and cultural, 1 from strategic leadership, 2 from instructional leadership, and maybe 1 from organizational leadership. All right. But you will always get a constructed response from strategic and from instructional. You could double up in there as well, but you will definitely get 1 from there, and you could get 1 from any other section here. Okay. I just want to be clear on that. And all of the good words we talked about: data-driven decision-making, job-embedded professional development, community engagement, engaging with stakeholders, documentation, due process, all those words, you need to be using those in the constructed response. Take what you've learned and apply it to the constructed response. Now, I'm going to go back here and stop sharing my screen and talk to you really quickly about that. I'm going to give a book away in just a minute. All right. So, and then I'm going to go to your questions here. What was I saying here? Okay. When we are looking through this book, you're going to see patterns and patterns and patterns. You're going to see disaggregate the data, make data-driven decisions, all of that. When you get to your constructed response, you are going to be able to apply that to anything. First of all, if it says name some things the leader can do, if you get a general set of data, the leader could always disaggregate the data with the team. What does that mean? That means to dig down deeper inside the data. So let's say you get some general school grade data, and that's in your prompt, right? You can say, what I would do first is disaggregate the data with my team by subgroup. That's always a good first step. On the multiple choice, it is the first step. Looking at the data and digging down into the data by subgroup or whatever is always the first step, right? Then, of course, you might use job-embedded professional development. But what are you doing along the way? You're formatively assessing along the way. You're collecting data along the way and making decisions. So just have this in your head when you're going through the constructed response. And I'm going to do one. Don't worry, we're going to do it together. But you can apply that to literally anything, right? You're always going to look at the data. You're always going to make data-driven decisions. You're going to keep the community in mind, student achievement in mind. You're going to help teachers use formative assessments, summative assessments. You're going to encourage teachers to act in community, in their professional learning communities, whether it's lesson study or building common assessments or whatever it is. And we're constantly passing that down. We are also engaging those teachers in teacher leadership. So there's always going to be little representatives of the teams. Let's say it's third grade team, fourth grade team, fifth grade team, or it's the English department, the science department, the social studies department. We want those teacher leaders to come up, and we're going to be delegating tasks to them, empowering them to lead the professional development. One last thing before I do the group giveaway. When I was working on the new book, I'm still working on it, but I was using a lot of AI. I have my ideas and I like to organize it in AI. And this is the thing about AI that I love, is that it can really give you a lot of good ideas. But when I went to the prompts, I had done a few SLLA prompts and I worked on it with AI, tweaking it, making them really good, right? But then the response, I was like, okay, let's do a sample response and see how it goes. The response from ChatGPT and other AI models was the administrator doing all the work. It was like, first I would do this. And it's like, redo the school improvement plan, build the professional development, design it, administer the professional development. And I noticed in the response from AI, it was all the administrator doing it. The assistant principal is doing all the work. That's not this test. That was wrong. I had to say back to it, hey, it's got to be teacher-centered, teacher-led. The administrator is here saying to the teacher, I'm empowering you to lead your PLC. I am empowering you to lead the professional development. I'm here to guide you. I'm here to support. I'm here to funnel you resources, but you're going to do it. That is a big part of this test and good leadership. I am noticing in my own company, I am doing that with my leadership team. I'm giving them a lot of just support, and they are taking it all to the next level. That's what leaders have to do. Now, of course, we have mandates, we have checklists, we have all these things. Sometimes doesn't work that way, but stay away from anything where the leader is doing all the work. Make sure you take it one step further, where in your constructed response, you are guiding teachers to do that thing. You are helping teachers design the strategy or whatever it is. Because remember, you're the building leader. Okay. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Okay. Let's go ahead and give away a book. Let's give away the SLLA 6990. All right. I'm going to, if you are in the webinar, you could have clicked the link and put your name in. All right. And so let's see here. I have Tanya Anderson for the SLLA 6990. Tanya, let me know if you are in the chat. And I have Dawnette Taylor, DD, for the 5412. So I have Dawnette or DD Taylor, and I have Tanya Anderson here for the two books. I have one more to give away, but this one I am giving away here. So Tanya for 6990 and DD Taylor for the 5412. I'm going to go back over to my chat and see if you're here. You have to be here to get the book. So let me know if you are here. I have one more to give away, and I'll give that away after we do the multiple choice. Okay. Let me know, you guys, if we are here. And I'll keep going, but it should be Tanya and Dee. Tanya Anderson and Dee Taylor. Okay. Dee's here. Awesome. And we'll see if the other person's here. If not, I'll give away another book. Okay. Let's get into the multiple choice. Here we go. Sharing screen. All right. So now that I've talked to your head off past half an hour about this, and I'm telling you, you got to think like a test maker here. Okay. I told you all the good words. We have to be thinking like this. We're on our awesome island where education is funded, right? So we are here. And here's what I want you to do first and foremost on the exam. Work backward. Think like a test maker when it comes to your multiple choice, and start with the answer choices first. Now, this is a very short little question stem here, so it doesn't hurt you to read this. But a lot of times it'll look like this, or it'll look like this. and you start up at the top, right? And you start reading here and you read all the way down. No, no, no. Do not do that because you're going to waste time. Think like a test maker. Go into the answer choices and delete or get rid of anything that's bad. That's called bad words. I call it bad words, and zero in on good words. The good words are from the test specifications. Let's have a look. Right now I can see this needs assessment here. So A, determine and addressing needs or gaps between current conditions and desired conditions or wants. Now this is an easy one, okay? First of all, if you see the term gap in an answer choice, it's probably a good answer choice. I'm not saying it's 100% the answer every single time, but I'm going to say it's the right answer a lot of the time, because what is our job as instructional leaders is to close gaps, equity gaps, achievement gaps, right? A's got all the stuff. I love it. And needs assessment. We're looking at our needs and figuring out where we are and what we need to do to get there, right? So that's A all day. Easy one. We're starting off easy here. But let's have a look at the other answer choices so I can just show you why they're not correct. B, surveying teachers to determine areas of improvement and where to allocate resources. Okay. This one you'll see a lot. Survey teachers. Now, surveys are great to measure attitudes, climate, how people are feeling. But when we're talking about allocating resources, we need survey data for sure, but we also need quantitative data. We need to look at scores. Where are we not achieving? Just like a company would look at, and I do not believe schools should be run like companies. I do not believe that, but I'm just saying this is one case where they are similar. When I run my company, what do I look at? I'm looking at metrics, right? I'm making decisions based on metrics. And typically those metrics match the needs of teachers and leaders. What do they need? They need these books. They need those books. They need this training. They need that training, right? You're doing the same thing. Surveys are great, but surveys are measuring attitudes. If we're allocating resources, we need more robust data analysis. So B is out for that, and needs assessment goes beyond surveying, okay? C, using student achievement data. Okay, I love it. To drive decisions made in the classroom. Okay, I like that, but that's not necessarily a needs assessment. A needs assessment is school-wide. School-wide. We do use student achievement data. And again, these are good words, but they're not going along with the needs assessment. D, analyzing resources and determining allocation based on desired student achievement. Again, has that wordiness to it. We have student achievement. We have allocating resources, but the term gaps here is very, very important. Where's the gap? How do we fill the gap? How do we close the gap? And are we analyzing resources or are we analyzing data? Be careful. They'll often put things together and it doesn't jive, because analyzing is good, but when you're analyzing the resource, you're going to analyze let's say the science equipment. No, we're going to analyze the data and then give resources to the science teachers to buy science equipment based on that, right? So D is out, making A the correct answer. Again, we're starting off easy. Let's go to the next one. This is number 2. I don't know why I have that there. Let's get rid of that. Okay. Again, we have a big scenario here. Let's start here. Form a committee of experienced teachers to analyze the data and come up with solutions. Okay, I like it. Forming a committee, right? Instead of making the decision on my own, we want to form committees. And let me move this over. You guys, sorry, I'm looking at my phone view and I'm trying to make sure you guys have the best view here. Sounds good. I'm going to leave it. B, review the SIP and analyze current goals identified in the plan. Again, another great answer. We're reviewing the school improvement plan, analyzing the current goals. That sounds great. This is why people say to me, all the answer choices looked good, because they all have good words in them. Let's look at C. Delegate part of the task to the assistant principal so time can be used efficiently. Now, delegation and finding school leaders is about succession planning on this exam, and it's really important. Delegating is a good thing. And a lot of us I'm getting so much better at it, but a lot of us like to hoard our tasks. I'll do it. The only person who can do it is me. I'll do it, right? Which is not true. That is a story we tell ourselves. There are plenty of people who can help us and do things. And delegating is important, but I don't know if I love it as the answer. I'll leave it, right? D, disaggregate the data based on subgroups and analyze achievement gaps or areas of weakness. D is the correct answer. Now, you all might be like, oh gosh, that's so easy. It's easy now that we're working backwards. Notice how much easier these things get when your mind isn't full of this whole entire scenario here, okay? Get rid of this. Now, I'm not saying that A, B, or C couldn't be the right answer, but D's got all the good stuff. Disaggregate the data. If you see that term in an answer choice, it is probably the correct answer. What does that mean? We're digging deeper into the data. Maybe we have school grade data. Now we want to go by subgroup. We've got subgroup data. Now maybe we want to disaggregate by skill. Is it comprehension? Is it vocabulary? Is it fluency? You can go down even further and further. You can keep getting smaller to figure out that data. Those of you in your doctoral programs, I know this because I did it, and you're in your dissertation, let me know in the chat if you're in the middle of a dissertation. I'll be sending you good vibes. But what do? We get smaller, right? There's a big set of data, and you're like, how do I even do a study on this? And my professor, he was a research one. He was a professor at an R1 school, and he came to teach in Florida where I am. Obviously, it's a great place to teach. And he was always like, get smaller little data points. That's what we want to study, right? So that's what we're doing here. And if you are doing that, I completely understand your joy in doing your doctoral work and how difficult it is. So great job if you're doing that. All right, so let's read it here. The principal of LES High School is working on increasing the curriculum and instructional focus to include a targeted approach to student subgroups. Again, we have the term subgroups here and subgroups there, sometimes making those connections work. If you see a subgroup term in the answer choice, it's also a good answer choice because you're disaggregating the data. Specifically, students who are identified as low socioeconomic and ESE. In Florida, ESE is exceptional student education. It's like it's special education. They just name it something different. So we want to figure out what's going on with these students, see if we can close those achievement gaps. What should be the first step? This is also something that they do. First step. First step is data. We can't form a committee yet. We're going to form a committee. We haven't even looked at anything. No. Review the school improvement plan and our current goals, identify in the plan. I mean, I guess, but that's like, no. See, delegate part of the task. I mean, if you're busy, you're probably going to say, hey, so-and-so, do me a favor, disaggregate this data for me and come back and give me a plan, right? You can do that. But on this test, we need to have a look at the data first. Disaggregate the data first and then figure out what's going on. All right, let's go to the next one. Number 4. Notice we have a piece of data here. We have a whole scenario here, a little question stem, and then big, long answer choices. This is the vibe of the SLLA 6990 and many leadership exams. That's why think like a test maker. Start with the answer choices. I guarantee a lot of times you don't even have to look at that data, right? Let's start. A, should the school investigate other reading programs that may maximize reading gains for all student groups? I love the term all student groups. All means all, making sure we're moving all students. Not a bad answer choice. Nothing red flaggy in this. I'm going to leave it. B, how can the achievement gap in reading performance between the total group and the subgroup be closed? Right away, B is the answer. B is the answer. I didn't have to look at anything. Why are we looking at data? To see gaps. What are we going to do? Close the gap. B is the answer all day. Let's look at C. What factors were most important in promoting improvement in the school's overall performance in reading? Okay, what factors were most important? How am I going to figure that out from this? I need to get some more data because this is all just making gains in passing. This isn't just, school grade data, but we've got some subgroups. But we need to disaggregate a little bit lower to get that. So C is out, A is out. D, how many students are in each subgroup and how does that impact the data? All right, this is something we want to think about, right? If you've got, a small sample size and you're making decisions, obviously, like if there's only 3 kids in a subgroup, we might want to use some qualitative data on those kids and figure out what they need, right? But if you've got hundreds of students in a subgroup, that obviously is going to be statistically significant. But is that really important when we're making decisions about achievement? Not really. It's kind of like a nonsense answer. Let's continue to work backwards and read the question stem here and see if B is still the right answer. After reviewing this data, the middle school principal should place the highest priority on answering which of the following questions? Achievement gap. Always. I don't care what data you see. It's the achievement gap every time. Okay? And then you can look here. Now, if you got this for a constructed response, and I'm going to give you a similar one for constructed response, we're going to analyze the data and write to it. You're going to want to see some small nuances here. You can see that, we've got like all students at 49%, but socioeconomic status, low socioeconomic status, significantly lower in year one. And then again in year two, we did increase. But look here, the low SES kids went from 33% to 39%. That's a nice jump year one and two. I'd be celebrating that gain for sure. For sure. We've got a gain here, 45 to 47. 63 to 66. We are moving in the right direction. How can we increase that? How can we continue to close these gaps and to push the achievement levels higher and higher? All right. But B, doesn't matter. That's our main goal. Okay. All right. Last one. And then I'll go back to the, we'll talk in the comments, and then we'll do the constructed response. All right. Again, big old long scenario. I can see the term needs assessment after needs assessment. Let's just go here. A, provide differentiated instruction that builds on students' unique strengths and experiences. Okay. I like it. I love the unique strengths and experiences. We're always trying to look at students as individuals. Remember, they are part of subgroups. They are data points when we're trying to pinpoint what's going on, but they are students with unique needs, and not just needs. They bring a lot to the table. So A is good. I love it. B, incorporate project-based learning activities into the curriculum. Okay, I like project-based learnings, right? Activities, that's great. Develop individualized performance criteria to drive instruction and assessment for each student. All right, this sounds like a good answer. You'll see this on tests. Develop individualized performance criteria. That's testing criteria. Each kid cannot take a test that is individualized. Now, instruction is individualized as much as possible, but the performance criteria is typically a state assessment that measures the standards. You can't make standards and assessments for each individual student. I'm going to go with C as a red flag. Be on the lookout for that, because listen, individualized performance criteria, doesn't that sound good? Drive instruction and assessment for each student. That all sounds good, but when you think about it, that's not a practice we do. And D, create and implement standards aligned independent study program. All right, independent study program is a red flag. Students are not doing independent study. They are working independently every once in a while or not even every once in a while, maybe a lot in your classes, right? Maybe you have a lot of self-motivated students who want to work independently. Okay, but the term standard to standards align is misleading here, because typically when you see standards align, you're like, oh, I love it. Yes, good answer on all my videos. But it's kind of connected to this, which seems a little sus, because independent study, that's kids working on their own. It's like that are working on their own. That's like what we did in college. If like there wasn't a major for what you wanted to do, they'd call it independent studies, right? So that's not what we're doing here. I'm not sure what's going on. I kind of like the differentiated instruction. That's standing out best for me, a little bit more than project-based learning. Let's have a look at the question stem. The leadership team can best support teachers who serve these students by providing teachers with professional development aimed to providing. All right, I can see here we have ELLs, low SES. What do we need to be doing here? We need to be training teachers in differentiated instruction to meet the needs of our English learners and our students experiencing poverty. Also, differentiated instruction for students within those groups who are high achieving. We want to make sure we're challenging students, and we want to make sure if they are scoring substantially lower than their peers, identifying what we can do and then training teachers to do that. So A is always good. Differentiated instruction is great. Project-based learning is cool too, but it's not necessarily differentiated, right? It's great, but this is the key, differentiated instruction. All right. We're going to get here in a second. I just want to go over and make sure you guys don't have any major questions here. Okay. Tanya is in the chat. Okay, we got it. We got the people who are doing the books. Okay, yep, people are working on their EDD program. Awesome, Anastasia, keep going. Dr. Cree says, I think this would trick me. I would pick creating the committee so that we can disaggregate the data together. If it said, that's a good one. So that's very good. Let's go back to where that was number 2. So number 2 was, what should we do first? And answer choice A was form a committee. Yes, but as the leader, we need to sort of sit down and look at the data and go, what's the best way to go about this? Who should I call? I'm going to call so-and-so in the English department, have her come down here. And I'm going to get so-and-so over there in the social studies department, and I'm going to have him come down here, and we're going to have a look at this together. But the first thing we do is look at the data. Okay. All right. Can everybody see my questions when I'm on the screen? I'm looking on my phone and it looks like everything is good. My head is covering part of it, yes, but we should be able to see most of it. Just let me know if you're having trouble with that. Okay, so now we're working into the constructed response. Oh, let's give the last book. 5412, let me go and see who's got this. All right. We've got 5412, Tyrone Jenkins. That is the next name we pulled from our digital hat. Tyrone Jenkins. Are you in here, Tyrone? Let me know if you are. If not, I'll call another name, but this is the 5412. We'll be sending you that. Tyrone Jenkins, let me know in the chat if you're here. If you're not, I will pull another name. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about the constructed response. Remember, this is 25% of the overall grade, and you want to really practice this. Now, there's a couple of ways you can practice. Obviously, my book has a bunch of prompts in it, but you can also use AI to help you practice for this. You can ask AI, develop me an instructional leadership prompt with a data set that I have to analyze, and you can a lot of times ChatGPT will go in and pull the rubric from ETS. It will do that. I have the rubric in my books. I have writing prompts in my books. Another thing you can do is reuse the writing prompts and just try a different strategy. You can always do that. Or you can even put it in there and say, can you write me something similar to this into AI? So keep practicing that writing. All right. Now, a couple things about the writing I want you to pay attention to. First, keep it simple. One thing I found with my instructional leaders, all of you with your EDDs, I am one of you, I know, and masters, you want to show what you know. You want to tell everybody what you know because you spent a bunch of time on it and no one seems to really care. So when you have a chance to write it for somebody, you want to go there and you want to really write about it. Please don't do that. You just need to answer the question and make it easy on the grader, the person who is reading your response. Think about it. When you're a teacher and you're grading your English kids' essays, you have these kids that are writing all over around the world just to say one thing. And then you get that one kid who writes a organized essay that is to the point and checks all the boxes that you ask them to do. You're like, this kid is a genius, right? And it's not even that special. It's just that it's organized and it answers the question and it uses specifics, right? You're like, oh my gosh, this person is amazing. So let's pare it down, all right? You're not writing your dissertation. You only have about 18 minutes per constructed response because there are 4. And you only have 75 minutes to complete this part. You cannot go back. Once you've done the multiple choice, then it's time for constructed response. You can't move back and forth. This is on its own, 75 minutes, okay? And that's going to help you. Now, let's talk about how to break it up. You want to think like a test maker. We are analyzing the data. We are using committees when we need to. We are using shared goals. We are working in the school improvement plan. We are finding teacher leaders in the building to help lead professional development. You're not doing the professional development. The teachers are. You're helping lead. You're not running the PLCs. You are inspiring people to run an awesome PLC. Okay. So let's have a look at the constructed response question. Oh, I don't see Tyrone. Is Tyrone in here? Let's see. I don't see him. We'll pick one more person. Sorry, let's go here. I'm trying to find Catherine Serta. Catherine Serta. Let me know if you're in the chat and we'll send you the 5412. All right, here we go. We're going to share screen. All right. Now, there's going to be a lot of text on the page here. I apologize. I know that this is a visual thing, but this is what it looks like. And a lot of times they're even bigger than this. So let's have a look here. And again, you're going to go, oh my gosh, do not start up here. What are we going to do? We're going to go straight to the task first. All right, let me move this over here. And maybe I'll just, I know my head is covering some of it, but I'm going to go over everything, so don't worry about it. All right, so start with the task. Start with the bullets or the numbers here. Do not start reading this whole thing and getting lost in the data and all of that. All right, first thing, number one, conduct a nuanced analysis of the provided mathematics achievement data. All that means is summarize the data. And it doesn't even mean summarize every single data point. It's just like summarize certain points that you want to talk about. All right. And you're going to have a look at this data. It's okay. But right away, my first paragraph, I might break this up into 3 paragraphs. First one is going to be a summary of the data and what do I want to do about it? Discuss ways to implement practices to measure student progress. Okay. Next one, formulate a comprehensive strategy for engaging teachers in this process. A comprehensive strategy, not 4 comprehensive strategies, 1 comprehensive strategy. All right. 1. I know you want to do 4, but what's that going to do? It's going to make it all convoluted and it's going to be problematic. Don't. 1. And I see here, so they are properly trained to use the data. I don't even have to read the prompt to know, okay, they need to be trained to use the data to make instructional decisions. Formative assessment is really good with that. I'm going to train my teachers on formative assessment. That formative assessment is going to be teacher-led. I'm going to find teachers in the building who are awesome at formative assessment, and I'm going to have them lead PD for formative assessment. Number 2 is taken care of. I already got it in my head. Now I'm going to pull specifics from the data, but I know what I'm going to do. And I'm using my scratch paper to write that down. All right, so let's see here. Let me take my scratch paper and you get scratch paper. All right, so I'm going to do paragraph number 1 is going to be summary. And, my solution, my, what is it called here? Discuss ways to implement practices. What do we need? Need to improve. It's probably going to be data analysis, probably analysis. It's probably going to be instruction, new instructional goals, things like that, new instructional methods, right? Okay, so that's number 1. The second paragraph is going to be PD, right? Training. It said it in the question. Formulate a comprehensive strategy for engaging teachers in this process so they are properly trained. Trained means professional development. And I'm going to do it in formative assessment. Okay. And it's going to be teacher-led. Those are the good words. I know it's got to be teacher-led before I even read the scenario. And again, my handwriting's terrible, so will yours be. You got 18 minutes. Just quickly map this out. Just thinking in terms. I haven't even read the prompt yet. 3, anticipate potential challenges. Oh, this is easy. Potential challenges. What are always the potential challenges? Money, time, and buy-in, right? So number 3 is going to be barriers and resilience, IENCE, because resiliency is a big one on this exam. What do you do when you see barriers? If you're a good leader, you climb over them, you knock them down, you figure out a way to get past them, right? So this is how my paragraphs are going to go. Now, I got to get more specific here. This isn't enough, but before I even read the constructed response prompt, I know what I'm going to do. I got a summary. I'm going to just summarize some points of the data. Second one's going to be PD. And the third one's going to be anticipate the barriers. I'm going to say what might happen. And I know what they are. They're the same every time. Time, money, buy-in. It's always those 3 things. Okay. And how I'm going to move past those. How do you move past those? Well, if it's time, we find the time. We take something off the teacher's plates. If this is important, we take something that we don't need right away off their plates and focus more on this. Money, we allocate some resources. Maybe we find some stipends in the budget to pay teachers to stay extra time. Maybe they stay an hour after school on Wednesdays. We pay them to do that. All right. And then if that shows resiliency, buy-in, teacher-led, maybe celebrating success, showing how other teachers, maybe it's a pilot program, teachers using it currently right now, share their success that makes other teachers want to do it, There's all those different ways to get through that. That shows resiliency. All right. So let's have a look at this again. So we've got our 3 paragraphs. Let's look at this. Continuing to work backwards. The extant school improvement plan incorporates a new mathematics curriculum, tailored professional development for teachers, and additional resources aimed at struggling students. So we have a school improvement plan that has this out in it. In your assessment, you discern that the plan, while research-based, lacks mechanisms for measuring student progress incrementally throughout the year. What does it lack? It lacks formative assessment. That's what that is. Measuring student progress during is formative assessment, and it is the most powerful assessment, in my opinion. All right. So we need formative assessment. So my original thing on this, the second thing here was correct, formative assessment. All right, let's have a look at the data. Because this is like, you need the names. An aspiring leader. Do we have names? We don't have names you might use the name of the teacher or the name of the school in your prompt, but really this is just saying, oh, here's some performance data. Let's have a look. We got middle school, overall percentage meeting. We got 55% in 6th, 48 in 7th, 8th grade is 51. So it looks like sixth grade has the highest meeting, but they're all hovering at 50%. Special ed, 32 in 6th grade, only 28 in 7th. We got a problem here. We need to move that. We need to move all of it, but this is kind of standing out. It's something I can summarize. And 35% of special education students meeting proficiency. Low SES, 44, 41, and 46. Okay, slightly higher than our special education kids. And general education, just meaning kids who are not in any kind of, special education, low SES, just a bigger subgroup of students. 58% are meeting proficiency, 52 in 7th grade, and 8th grade it's 54. And then English learners, 40% in 6th, 36 in 7th, and 8th. We have an achievement gap here. Just like, this could be any data from any school, right? Typically, proficiency levels hover at 50% no matter what we do. But we still want to keep doing it, right? We still want to keep pushing it. So we want to close these gaps, and we want to use that language in our constructed response. All right. So I've got my map here. Now that you have the prompt, I would probably summarize some of these gaps, like the 7th grade gap here, 48% of overall students meeting proficiency, only 28% of special ed. I might focus on that. 7th grade's got an issue here. They're a little bit lower, but let's have a look and see what I said about that. All right. So I go right into it. I don't have an intro sentence. I just go right into it. The thing is, summarizing the data is a great way to introduce the writing, right? You don't need an intro paragraph. Remember, you have 18 minutes per constructed response to do this. And I would call this an instructional leadership question, right? One of these is the instructional leadership question. All right, here we go. The data set reveals substantial disparities in mathematical proficiency across diverse student subgroups. And that is true. That's a nice intro thing here. We've got some subgroups here: special ed, low SES, and ELs, or ELLs, depending on where you're teaching. And you can see there are gaps there, right? So that is true. But now we need to get specific. You can't just say there's gaps. Use words like for example and for instance right after you make a general statement. This will tell the grader, oh, they're about to get specific, which is in the rubric. You have to meet this in the rubric. So for instance, and I'm getting specific here, special education students manifest a particularly low achievement rate of 28 to 35%. Is that true? 28 to 35 is the highest. See how I kind of summarize it? I didn't go by each one. I just said the lowest is 28 and the highest is 35, depending on grade level. That's a summary of the data. That's great. Similarly, English language learners and students from low socioeconomic backgrounds also underperform compared to general education students. Now, I didn't use a percentage, but it is specific because I compared it to general ed kids. And that was this right here, general ed, a little bit higher, and our special ed, low SES, and ELLs are performing lower. So good comparison. Now, remember, I'm just doing this step by step, and I'm sorry. Let me erase some of this. I get a little carried away with the purple pen. Lo siento mucho. Hang on. Here we go. Okay. For our first paragraph, because we're breaking this up by paragraphs, our first paragraph is conduct the analysis, which we did. The second part is discuss ways to implement practices to measure student progress throughout the year. That's the second part, and it makes for a nice ending to this paragraph. To meet the needs of these students throughout the academic year, notice I grabbed some of their language from the task itself to signal to the grader, hey, I'm going to do it now. I'm doing it. Read this. We will implement department-wide formative assessments. We got to see what's going on throughout the year. If it's working, if it's working, great, keep going. If it's not, pull back and figure out what's going on. This approach uses periodic, low stakes assessments. Why I love them, because you can really get a read. If something's too high stakes, like a state assessment, kids tend to get nervous. You don't always get the best understanding what your kids can do, and student self-assessments to monitor progress. Good word. Providing real-time feedback. Another good word. Can be used for instructional adjustment. That's another word for making data-driven instructional decisions. In addition, math teachers will use their weekly professional learning communities to build common formative assessments. Common, shared, remember, shared goals, common goals, and analyze the data together. I'm going a little bit hard on this paragraph here. You may not have all this time. I'm just trying to give you everything you could possibly do. You could put a period there and be done with that. But now I just want to give you a little rationale as to why I'm doing that. Building common formative assessments will help the math team build continuity throughout the department and will ensure effective data analysis and decision making. Okay. I summarized the data. I got specific on a few things, not every data point, but I did dig down. And then I said, all right, to meet the needs of these students, we got to implement formative assessments. I got even a little bit more specific, department-wide self-assessment, monitor progress. And then I tell you why it's going to work, why it's going to help. All right, check. Number one, both things. This part's checked, and then discuss ways to meet the needs. All right, let's go with the second paragraph. Formulate a comprehensive strategy. So we just said we're going to use formative assessment. Well, how are we going to get teachers to do it? How are we going to engage teachers in this process so they are properly trained to use data to make instructional decisions? Okay, here comes paragraph 2. The next step is to implement a comprehensive strategy for teacher engagement. Notice I took that straight from here. Engaging teachers. That way, the grader knows I'm answering this question. Implementation will include professional development in data literacy and effective PLCs, where teachers will learn to design common assessment as a team and disaggregate the formative assessment data these assessments produce to make instructional decisions. Notice that I used all the good words when it comes to data analysis. I've got comprehensive strategy, data literacy, common assessments. Those are those shared assessments, shared goals, and the term disaggregate the data. And we're training teachers to do this. This professional development will be teacher-led, another good word, with 2 respected teachers from the team administering the training. Notice I got real specific there. That's good. Specificity, telling, or actually showing the reader, not telling the reader, is going to help you here. And here I have administration will be available for support. And to support our new teachers, novice teachers will be paired with instructional coaches skilled in data-driven instruction. Just a side note, you will be getting this in an email, so don't worry. If you're watching this live October 18th, 2025, you signed up for the webinar, you're getting this. If you're watching in the future, you probably already have the constructed response in an email, or if you got this from a link, just so you know. You will be getting this for my live participants. All right, so that was paragraph 2. Good job. We got the overall strategy. We got specific on data literacy and disaggregating the data. We talk about professional development being teacher-led and the administration team being there to support, to lead, to help. Perfect. All right. So check. Number 2. Number 3, anticipate the barriers and what we can do to overcome those barriers. Here we go. Anticipating challenges and barriers to this process is essential for this plan to be successful. The 2 biggest barriers to this plan is time and lack of experience within the department. All right. So when I wrote this, I sort of made something up. You can make things up too. I pretended that I had a lot of brand new teachers when I was reading this. And that's why some of them were having a hard time closing that achievement gap. When you're a brand new teacher, you're just trying to keep your head above water, right? You don't know how to disaggregate the data based on subgroup and skill and all of that. So we got to train them to do that. So let's figure out how we're going to combat the 2 biggest barriers. To combat time constraints, we will use budget reallocations to fund substitute teachers. Again, we're in that magical place, you guys, where we have funding to get subs so our teachers can train and do the things they need. Again, magical place. I know it's not reality. Who can relieve regular math faculty weekly, providing them with the needed time for PLCs. Oh, so they get to do PLCs during the school day. I know. I wish it were true. This also ensures faculty are getting paid for the time they spend on this project. Another thing, we have to pay our teachers. Along with pairing novice teachers with those who are experienced, because notice that I said that here, novice teachers will be paired with coaches in that second paragraph. So I allude to that. We will implement a scaffolded, love it, professional development approach. What is that? That's individualized professional development, which is another part of this exam that we want to make sure it's differentiated. And that hits that little section, beginning with basic data literacy and progressing to advanced instructional strategies. So for our new teachers who don't know how to disaggregate data, we're going to help you with some data literacy. I'm getting specific on what we're going to teach teachers and move to advanced. Awesome. Now I say this will be differentiated so all teachers' professional development needs are met. Finally, the administrative team will be dedicated to supporting all faculty. Okay, we're here to support. Check, check, check. 1, 2, and 3. Sometimes I even use headings. I might say up here, you'll notice in my book, if you have my study guide, you'll notice that I'll have a heading on top of each paragraph. Do it. That is another signal, okay? So you might have data analysis up here or summary of the data and strategy or something like that. You might have something here. What was the second one? You might just call this formative assessment initiative. So it's real clear. And you might have here barriers and resiliency or something and put a big old green arrow on everything for the reader. I always use headings when I'm writing for something like this. I use them in my, we had our comprehensive exams for my doctoral degree. So we also had to do a dissertation, but we also had our comps. And for my comps, I used tons of headings to show the grader of my comps that I'm organized and I know what I'm saying here. And this is what it's about. Okay. So all of that works there. Let me go back to my thing here and we can take some check. Okay, let's see here. Catherine is here. All right, Catherine, you got the 5412. It's coming your way. Good job. All right. Do we write in paragraphs or bullet everything? I would write some paragraphs. It's an essay task. But I have put bullets inside. For example, let's say you had like a whole paragraph there, and then the last sentence would be, our main focus are going to be these two things. And it might be bullet closing the achievement gap, and the next bullet, training teachers appropriately or something like that. You can incorporate them, but you don't just want a bulleted list for your constructed response. You got to intermingle. Sometimes they'll ask you to write a memo. Sometimes they'll ask you to write a plan. I do recommend some paragraphs. And look, it never says they have to be paragraphs. It never says in the rubric they have to be 5 sentences. It just says build a comprehensive essay about this and make sure you use specifics and make sure, you stay on topic and all that, and that is organized. So you don't have to worry about how many sentences per paragraph, but just make sure it's organized. Right? And again, in my book, I have a ton of prompts. Let me show you where to get the book and keep asking me questions, you guys. Let me show you where to get a few more resources, especially for this, both free and paid. So, if you're here, you've been to my website, KathleenJasper.com. If you go to our programs under SLLA 6990, it'll take you to this big giant landing page. I'm just going to put it here because I want you to see some things. We have an online course that is absolutely comprehensive. It's got the digital study guide. So it comes with the full study guide digitally. And it's hours and hours and hours of videos of me going through each thing. It also has an audio course component. At the end of this, you can play the audio course. Now, we also have the study guide, which is awesome. Go look at our reviews. I'm going to show you on Amazon. It's fantastic. And this audio course, people love it. It's a great accompanying thing to the book. Let me show you what this is. So if you go out, you can bundle them here. Okay. And you can see here that Amazon, we have over 316 5-star reviews here, and you can check and just have a look at all of this here. But when you buy this, here we are, Amazon. When you buy this book from Amazon, I recommend buying it new. There are used available, but you guys, there's going to be writing in it. And you can't, you don't want to do that. It's cheaper, but there's writing in it. And there's nothing we can do about that because it's a third-party seller. All right. Now, the offer code you get today from being in the webinar will not work on Amazon. We're working on selling physical books on our website, so we can apply those coupon codes. But for now, if you get from Amazon, no coupon code, because I have to unpublish the book, reduce the price, and republish it. And that's a nightmare. But on our website, everything is discounted. So if you want an audio course and the digital study guide, do that. When you add to cart here, undo, when you go to checkout, undo the automatic discount for the bundle and put in the offer code that we give you. It'll give you an extra 5% off. All right. Of course, we've got the regular study guide here, digital download. When you buy it from us from our website, you are getting a digital download emailed to you. And the audio course is great for in the car, on the go. Lots of people love the audio course. The online course is so comprehensive. Let me just give you a quick, I don't know if anybody has the online course, let me know in the chat, but it is video after video after video. It's got comprehensive constructed response practice. I go through everything. And let me just find it. Where are you, SLLA? There we are. Okay. I want to share this with you as soon as I have it up. Hang on. Okay, so this is our SLLA 6990, and you can see here, right now I'm in the audio course version, but start here, how to use the course. I break it all down. Download the study guide. Here, you have the full study guide. Download it, save it to your computer. Then we've got handouts for each section. And then each module, I've got a full video, all of these notes. I talk about everything. There's just video after video. We've got quizzes. And then let me just keep going through here. Constructed response. We've got all of our constructed response videos here. We've got constructed response handouts. And then, of course, the audio course. It's comprehensive. It has everything. So if you are working towards this and you want it, get the online course, especially right now with the offer code if you're in the webinar, okay? And then finally, if you're looking to piece together, a lot of people use my free stuff too. I know everybody's kind of broke right now, all right? Go to my YouTube channel, go to playlists, find my SLLA playlist, get the study guide. I highly recommend you get the study guide because you need to practice, you need to see the way the questions are, but piece it together. I've got a lot of stuff on leadership here. This is where you can find me. Also, I'm doing a lot on TikTok. I love TikTok. If you like your micro learning, follow me on TikTok. Also for my, YouTube, I'm almost to 100,000 subscribers. Look, you guys, 97,900. I've been doing YouTube for 10 years and I'm just getting to 100,000 subscribers, and they send you one of those plaques. I can't wait. Most people would already have like 1 million by now, but my content is like instructional decision-making using data. Nobody's subscribing. So definitely check out my YouTube channel and subscribe so I can get one of those plaques. But I also have tons of information here. And share this with your teachers. There's a lot of stuff on Bloom's taxonomy, passing their exams. I have a ton on teaching reading. I was a reading teacher at the high school level. I'm a big fan of all the reading, systematic reading instruction. So check that out. And of course, we have all of our webinars here. I have lots of information for you. I'm going to be sending you an email. Be on the lookout for that. We've got our offer code. Chantel is asking, when will the updated books become available? I'm looking to take the test in March. They'll be available very soon, probably in the next month. All right. So if you can wait on the new book, I would wait. If you're not taking it till March, hold off. The new book will be out soon. But listen, guys, the test hasn't changed. This book has helped thousands and thousands of instructional leaders. All I'm doing is restructuring it. I had some new ideas and stuff. It's still, this book is the tried and true. Go look online. Everybody uses my stuff. My stuff is the best. I will stand by that. I don't care whose stuff you look at. Mine is going to be the best. Get it if you can. If not, use the free. Use the webinars. Use the stuff like that. Okay. Let's see here. Just asking. We will be providing a free copies of the new book. Rhonda, yes, I'm going to do webinars, and I'm sure we'll do some more free giveaways. I'm going to do free giveaways at every webinar. So we started doing this, I think, like a month ago, and it's really fun. And so I'm going to keep giving books away in our webinars, right? So yes, for sure. I take the test December 6th. Will it be out before then? I have the current one. Oh, study the current one. It should be out before then, and it will be like a new book. There will be another practice test on there. So if you did want to get it, Salita, in the chat, you should be able to find that. Yep. But remember, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm telling you, this is the old faithful. Everybody loves this book. It's just that it's getting a little bit old. I wanted to freshen it up a bit and, just give it a little facelift. That's all I'm doing to it. Okay. How long is the online course, Iris? It's pretty long. You're going to need I just wouldn't cram. I'd give myself at least a week if you were doing it like sectioning out each section, maybe one a day, a week to 2 weeks to do the online course. Could you do it all on a Saturday? Sure. But you're going to get really sick of the sound of my voice. So I always think of people like listening to me. You get a little sick of it. I'd give myself a week, 2 weeks, and I would just go down the line in that online course. Just like start with the first section, do the handouts, do the book work for that section, strategic leadership, do the practice quiz, all of that, and just go down the line and give yourself some time. If you have to cram, you can also cram it. It's fine. Okay. All right, guys, listen, I really appreciate you all becoming educational leaders. It's a tough job. I was an assistant principal myself. I know that people talk about teachers being slammed, and they are, but assistant principals right now, with everything rolling downhill from the district and the state and everything else, and the cuts and all of this stuff, I know how slammed you guys are too. And I just really appreciate it. And those of you getting your graduate degrees in educational leadership, it's amazing. Keep going. If you're working on your doctorate and you're hitting a wall, totally normal. Keep going. We're here for you. Let me know if you want me to film anything. I'm going to be doing a lot of leadership filming here in the next few days. But if you have anything specific, you can always email us at info@kathleenjasper.com. And you will just put in there, hey, ideas for filming. And my team kind of collects those and puts them in a spreadsheet for me. And I go through and I have a look. Okay. Somebody's asking, how long would you prepare and study before taking the test? It just depends. I don't know how much training you have in leadership. I don't know if you've had a master's program already. If you're brand new, I would probably do 2 weeks to 3 weeks, because I'm the type of person that if I give myself too much time, it's too much time. I definitely would not cram. I would do probably 30 to 40 minutes a day for a week to 2 weeks. Incremental practice over longer periods of time is better than cramming. Now, some of you are crammers and you're good at cramming and you're good at performing under pressure. If that's how you like to do it, do it. But for those of you who really are stressed and you want to figure out the best way to do this, my time is early in the morning, 30 to 40 minutes before anyone gets up. My mind is fresh. I would maybe do some practice test questions. I would analyze the book. Please read it. Read it. Don't just do the practice tests. That's not going to help you pass, because I have no idea what questions you're going to get on the exam. No one does. You shouldn't know. So you got to understand what they're asking and how to answer it no matter how they ask you. Okay. Yes. So the difference between the two, the 6990 has the constructed response. The 5412 does not, but either way, the constructed response is going to help you. Like today, I went through it. All right. Now be on the lookout for that email with everything in it. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for staying with me today. I know it's Saturday and you probably would like to do something else, but you guys made my day. Thank you so much for being a part of my community. Let me know how I can help you. And I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.